Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blue Talk. Again, John, Dave, and myself. We're going to look back over Leinster's disappointing performance against La Rochelle last week in the European Cup final and look forward to our big game in the URC quarter-final against Glasgow and, of course, all the other rugby news that's going on in the world at the moment. So, boys, disappointing 25-21 defeat against La Rochelle. If O'Gara's Munster can't beat us, maybe O'Gara's La Rochelle can.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a disappointing end to a game. But you know, if you're going to play finals rugby and you don't play your best, then you know you're not going to do your best. You're not going to win, and that's what happened. You know, we didn't play our best on the big day, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. There's a lot of reasons why we didn't play that way. I thought. It's hard to know, really. It's very difficult to process, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jason said Jason was the only one who was at the game, and he texted us, you know, fair play to them for 3-0.
Yeah,
which I thought was a pretty magnanimous thing to do, right within minutes of the final whistle. But he's right.
Such a Corinthian as our Jason.
That's just taking part that counts, lads.
He's absolutely right. They did score 3-1. They got their tactics.
3-0. 3-0, John.
Yeah, they got their tactics spot on. They spoiled our game, and that's a legitimate way of playing the game. You know, I mean, it's the way Ireland used to play for fucking decades, spoiling other people's games. And you know, like I say, legitimate tactic, and it worked for them. And it's not like they were devoid of anything else either. You know, they had their most of their tries were kind of counter-attacky tries or made off our mistakes, but like they got us right. They nailed us. They, you know, not by much, only by a try in the last minute, but you know, you got to hand it to them spot on. And is O'Gara, because he's the coach.
There was a lot of thinking about how things would go wrong for Leinster. What would happen that would make things go wrong, whether it would be you know, whether their scrum would destroy us or whether you know, they'd have too much power. As it turns out, that neither were the case. It was kind of more what we didn't do. I mean, as I was saying to you earlier, like on BT Sport, there was a section where Brian O'Driscoll highlighted you know, a phase of play, 4 passes, and every single one of those passes was to the inside shoulder, and there was just no accuracy there. And then guys were making silly little mistakes. Don't want to single guys out because you know it was fairly universal. Ross Byrne dropped a ball. Jimmy O'Brien, the ball bounces up and hits him on the knee. After that, where Sexton kind of got injured, and Hugo Keenan kind of made a half break that kind of would have led to a clearance. And Jamison Gibson Park goes off his feet, and which led to a penalty and kept us in that area. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, I don't want to single those guys out because every single player was making just those, you know, those little 2% errors that are the difference between a team that's, you know, going to win and a team that's not.
Yeah, there was that incident where both Sexton and Keenan they didn't have much of a window to kick the ball, but it was near the try line, and it would have been possible. They would have risked the charge then. But if you think about it, you know, I've got the luxury of several days to think about it. But if you think about it, the worst thing with the short dead ball areas, the worst thing that would have happened with a charge then was it would have gone back over and it would have been a 22, which would have been fine, you know. However, holding onto the ball turned out to be a deadly one because it led to, I think, that penalty, and it led to the try that brought them back within a point, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't had the heart to watch it back a second time, so I only saw it when it was happening live. So little errors, little things like that, and them getting everything spot on. So they were like Will Skelton, for example. He can't have been too unfit. Played 14 minutes of rugby, and look at him going like a train. I think.
Yeah, but do you know what was very noticeable in this stadium was any break in play, 4 if not 5 water carriers are running onto the pitch and taking as much time. And you could see Barnes gesturing at them to come off, but they were taking their time. They were slowing everything down. So, you know, when we were trying to play our quick tempo game, just like their tactics just slowed the ball down, slowed everything down, so they could get their breath. Like when we arrived there on Friday morning, the heat, lads, like it was unbearably hot, and we ended up going on Friday night. And the kickoff was 9 o'clock French time to the Challenge Cup final, and it was 34 degrees when we were leaving the hotel to go into town for it. That was at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So it was considerably cooler on Saturday, but it was still in the mid 20s as opposed to, you know, early 30s temperature wise. But like that's still a good bit warmer than it is in Dublin, you know. And even we might have been wanting to play that, you know, a bit more tempo. They certainly didn't, and they slowed it down, you know. So, but you know, I thought. Yeah,
World Rugby are planning on doing something to make a change in that. So in terms of, you know, every single player, every single kind of coach coming onto the pitch as soon as somebody goes down, they don't want to, like, they don't, basically it's an anti-Razzie Erasmus rule. They want to control the amount of people on the pitch. I mean, I've seen it in the RDS. I think I said it to you, Jay. It might have been you. I don't know if you're standing beside me at the time, but at one point there were 12 non-players on the pitch during a break in play, and it wasn't medical. They were just there bringing on water and doing this and doing that and doing the other, and you know, that kind of stuff. And then they all have to get off the pitch, and it just slows the game down.
Well, yeah, well. Again, it's a legitimate tactic if it suits you. I'm
not saying it's not a legitimate tactic, but you know,
tying your bootlaces, whatever the hell it takes at the time. You know, feigning injury is possibly a little bit over the mark, but you know, if you don't get caught, anything's okay if you don't get caught. Like, yeah, they did a lot of stuff to a breakdown that was possibly illegal, but if you don't get caught, like
but John,
you do the same thing to down the other end of the field, you know.
But John, if they want, like, you know, they're trying to do everything to make the game more entertaining for spectators.
Sure.
Like, okay, maybe if maybe if our team was La Rochelle and we wanted a slower game, and as you said, you know, maybe Ireland were guilty of that in the past. I don't know, but like, if you are neutral at a final of a European Cup, you do want kind of an entertaining game, and to be stopping literally every single pause in play. There's somebody down, there's water carrier coming on, and Barnes is telling them to get off the pitch. But, you know, it's 15 seconds here, 30 seconds there. It's just playing into La Rochelle's hands.
It's annoying thing, but we do want to like clarify that we didn't lose because of that.
Yeah.
You know,
we
lost
I'm not saying
a multitude of other reasons.
Oh, there was plenty of other reasons that we can blame for, you know, like, but you know, one tactics that I was surprised that they did. Now, actually, when I say I'm surprised, I was kind of advocating it during the game, because when we walked into the stadium, when we walked around Marseille itself, there just seemed to be a sea of blue. Like, I just thought, God Almighty, there's, you know, a huge number of Leinster fans after traveling over. And when we walked into the stadium, the blue was completely outnumbered by La Rochelle. And it just seemed, from our vantage point anyway, that the Leinster blue was all around the stadium, you know, sort of in pockets all around, whereas La Rochelle was in massive contingents. But during the game, we were saying, like, well, when Leinster get penalties, if we can build a lead, maybe if you get 3, 6, 9, 12 points up on the board and get a substantial lead, it might quieten their fans, you know. It might take them out of the equation, because if there was 60,000 in the ground, you know, from a very rough guesstimate, I would say there was 40,000 La Rochelle in the stadium. Like, it was predominantly yellow. And then maybe they could have been Toulouse or Toulon fans with yellow flags. I don't know. But there was certainly far more yellow than there was blue. And I just was surprised though that we didn't try and exploit at the start of the game some of our possession that we were getting by kicking for corner. We just took those points at all stages, but they seemed almost happy to give us the points in front of the posts.
Yeah, they were quite happy to swap. They were quite happy to swap 3 for 7. You know, and like you say, we were. I mean, because it's kind of considered like sensible rugby in a final to take your 3 points, to take your points because there's no bonus points in a final.
But conservative.
I do think after a short while, it became apparent that we actually had a really good plan in our maul and it was working really, really well. And we should have gone to that more often. I think there was a point at 15-10 when we had a penalty. That maybe we should have tried something there.
Was their guy off the field at that point as well? Or,
I think so.
I mean, there's a gilt-edged opportunity to use your maul when they're down the forward.
And we didn't use that sin bin advantage. Like we got a penalty from the sin bin, from the trip, but I don't think we scored during the 10-minute period. That
I think we lost that 3-7.
Did we? So you know what I mean?
I think
that's really really poor if we did when we had that advantage. Do you think, lads, that
Go ahead.
I was going to say there. Do you think La Rochelle coaches out-thought us at the end of the day?
I think so. I think we were, like they often say, we should focus on our own game and not worry about the other team. And there's only so much truth in that. Yes, you don't want to be spending your whole time worrying about the other team to the exclusion of nailing your own stuff. But totally ignoring what they might bring is another. And I'm sure Stuart Lancaster, Leo Cullen, etc., didn't totally ignore what they might bring, but maybe they focused on the wrong areas. Like, for example, what we were discussing earlier, when we played Toulouse and they were kicking the ball in field, not kicking to touch, and we were amazed at why they weren't trying to slow the ball down the whole time. La Rochelle did that in spades, which stops us getting our fluid game running. The other thing that I think went against us, right, is that a lot of our penalties were in front of the posts. Like if they're out on the wing, you're much more tempted to go for the corner. If you have one out wide, you go for the corner. You'll probably miss it.
Yeah.
Whereas they were.
Can I just add there, John? Like I thought when we did go up the line a couple of times, they were very conservative kicks. Like no one wants to see a repeat of the Billy Burns kick where he tried to eke out an extra couple of meters when we played Wales a few years ago and he misses it. Do you know what I mean? You want to see him make your touch, but at the same time, I can remember the touch judge running back towards Sexton as he, after he kicked it because he was expecting it to go further into the 22 and he had to come back to where the ball crossed.
Yeah.
So I thought we were very conservative. I thought we were conservative by taking so many kicks at the goal, and I thought we were conservative when we went for our touches. And
but I think you're right. But I think that's a function of what I was saying about us not being quite on it. When you're not absolutely at your best, you do the easy thing, not the easy thing, but you do the basic thing and the thing you can do rather than the thing you should do. And that's a function of that.
Yeah.
I mean, and to go back to your original question, did the La Rochelle coaches outthink us? I don't think they did. I don't think they were trying to. I think what they were trying to do was take a situation where if Leinster weren't absolutely at their best, that they'd be in a position to take advantage and to win. And that's what happened.
Yeah. But the game that we ended up playing was the game that we said last week we shouldn't play. We ended up making 225 tackles. They only made 80 something. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't want to get into an arm wrestle with them. We wanted to take them out wide, and we nearly refused to take them on out wide.
In fairness, 210 of those tackles were in the last 10 minutes.
James.
Yeah, well, that's very,
James Lowe was very quiet. Now I've seen today that he's not injured. You know, he's available for selection this week, which would mean, you know, like he wasn't patched together for the game, and you know he didn't. But he was just, whether he was kept quiet, I don't know. You might have been able to see easier in the stadium, Jason, than we were in the telly. But he wasn't his usual running in off the wing looking for work the whole time. And
but that's a function, John, of the kind of the mistakes we were making. Not mistakes as such, but the poor technique we were showing in passing. By the time, so for a straight move down the back line, by the time it gets to him, it's hit 4 inside shoulders. Or if he's looking to come on an inside line and one of those little kind of no-look passes that Sexton throws, they weren't happening. They just weren't happening because, you know, we sunk back into our shells. So for him, and to a certain extent, I mean, I thought Jimmy O'Brien played quite well. He made good yardage and he kicked well up the line. I mean, all he'll be remembered for is the error that I actually, in fairness to him, that I highlighted. But I thought he played quite well, but he was able to get more ball. Lowe just wasn't able to get on the ball for a variety of reasons. And one of the reasons would be that, you know, we are pretty scared of Raymond Rule because he has done damage to us in the past. And he did it again.
First Ghanaian born player to get a Heineken Cup medal, I would have thought. First Ghanaian born player to get a Heineken Cup medal. I was watching a friend of mine's son has gone out with a girl whose family are Ghanaian, and as it happens, I'm going to meet somebody else whose father was Ghanaian tonight. So, you know, it'll be a good talking point. Finally, your mob got one in the Heineken Cup. Can't say that, John. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, just go back to James Lowe. Like, there was a couple of moments in the game, and certainly would have been in the second half, that he kicked through, but he didn't. He seemed to chip the ball through. Do you know, he was like, it wasn't one of his huge, humongous left booters. It was just, they were kind of little chips through. And rather than, I'd love to have seen him actually try and get the ball and try and run it at them. I can't honestly think, did we have a line break during the match? You know, one doesn't stand out to me now. I haven't had the guts to watch the game back on telly yet or on record, but like, I can't think of a line break that we had during the match, really. You know, and then, it was just so frustrating. Like, we fought so hard to defend our line just on the stroke of half time. We worked our way back up the pitch, and we won that penalty on the stroke of half time to give us, you know, a 5-point cushion going in. And then within 30 seconds, after all that hard work on defending on our line, we gave away an absolutely brain dead penalty and let them back in, you know, close enough into the, you know, to close that gap down to 2 or 3 points, 2 points.
Almost immediately.
You know, it was like 30 seconds into the second half. And then, you know, like, everybody makes mistakes, but we just seem to have our worst performance of the campaign on the biggest day, you know. And I just wonder if
we made 5 clean breaks to their 3.
Okay, well, okay, I'm gonna have to watch back the match because they don't stand out to me. They don't stand out. But look, that's, you know, there's nothing. Like, I just think we had a very poor day and they had a great day. But
that's it.
Like, I mean, you know, you can think back 13 years ago when we beat Munster. I can remember doing the video for Blood, Sweat and Beers and saying that we had to have our best day and they had to have their worst day. And, you know, that's kind of what happened. Munster probably hadn't played that poor in a big game for a long time. And we played superbly on the day and, you know, got into the final of the Heineken Cup.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Jay. That's kind of what it comes down to. I mean, and the feeling is that the guys will feel, I guess, that this is one that they left behind. I think that'll be their thinking. They won't be necessarily inaccurate with that. I do think it was one we could have won, but, you know, we didn't. And fair play to La Rochelle. I mean, they're a small club. Yeah. They came from not very much, not all that long ago. They've been in 2 European finals and won one. So fair play to them. I mean, Roger's done a good job. You know, you think he was the only Irish guy involved in that match, judging by the media the next day. I mean, the way he scored all the points and stuff, but he did a great job. He's obviously got something about him as a coach. He's picked good guys underneath him, which I think
he's got.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say he's been in La Rochelle for a season and a half and 2 seasons. Like, he seems to be a bit of a serial winner there, or certainly his coaching. He was involved with Racing, I know, at a kind of a lower level initially, but he worked his way up through the ranks. They I can't remember if they won in Barcelona or if they lost. I can't remember, but they played in the final of the top 14. I think he was gone from them at that stage, but they did play. Sorry, they played in Barcelona in the top 14 final. Obviously, the Crusaders are serial winners, and now he's done a very good job with La Rochelle. A team that was only their 4th Heineken Cup campaign ever, and they've been in two finals of the 4 times they've been in the competition. But like, if you look back over the last 13 years since we won that match against Leicester in Edinburgh, there's been 13 Heineken Cups. Only 5 teams have won it in those years. If you exclude La Rochelle, so Toulouse have won it twice, Exeter won, Sarries 3 times, us 4 times, and Toulon 3 times. So I think to get another team in, as a winner, is good for the competition.
Yeah.
It's not good for us, clearly, but it's good for the competition. You want more teams.
Oh, you don't want it to become a procession of 3 or 4 clubs. You want every club. I mean, La Rochelle kind of show, certainly in France, to every club that yes, you can be successful in the top 14 and have a successful European campaign, that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. All you have to do is have the courage to do it, which is what Roger. Just one thing I wanted to say. I mean, it's one thing about being a good coach, but the most overlooked skill of being a good coach is running a coaching team, and he's obviously put together a very good coaching team there. So, fair play to him. I mean, he's done really, really, really well, and it's the closest anyone from Munster will get to a Heineken Cup for another 15 years.
You're missing out Dominic Ryan, though.
I mentioned the coaching team.
Yeah,
Dominic Ryan wants to be a Leinster player. Remember?
Well, that's right. That Dominic Ryan, yeah. I suppose there was one thing that was putting me off reading newspapers and stuff over the last few days was the narrative that we've tried to change our tactics. We reinvented ourselves. We became a more running, free-flowing team, and we still come up short. La Rochelle, 2 losses against La Rochelle in the last couple of seasons. Before that, 2 defeats against Saracens. But like unfortunately, life isn't just binary. It's not just, you win or you lose. Like, there's a load of grey area. We were, 1 minute and 20 seconds away from, admittedly, hanging on by our fingernails, but 1 minute and 20 seconds from winning a Heineken or Champions Cup final. It didn't happen. 22 other sides didn't even get to the final. We got to the final. Didn't work out for us. It's always next year.
Yeah, well, that's that. I agree with you completely, Jason. I mean, the attitude out there seems to have been, well, this is Leinster may as well pack up and go home. Rugby's finished now for Leinster. They can stick to Gaelic football or soccer or something because they can't do the rugby anymore. That's not how it works out. I mean, we lost the final, as you say, in the last couple of minutes. But some of the rugby we played this year, some of the best rugby I've seen any team play. And the way we've transitioned our game from a team, a team that looked like it wasn't going to be able to beat any of those kind of teams ever again, to a team that, put 40 points on one of those teams 2 weeks ago in the space of a year. So, I mean, the narrative that's out there, but then the narrative caters to the people who read those journalists, and those journalists cater to the people who read them. So there's this circular flow of bollocks.
Well, it's like,
but sadly, though, okay.
One thing I'll say.
Go on, John.
One thing I'll say is that it's not often you get to the Heineken Cup final and the knockouts of the URC with a fully fit squad. Opportunities like this are rare, and we unfortunately weren't able to take it. You know, Sexton is going to be gutted. Next year is his last year. Is he going to make it uninjured to the final line, or to the, you know, are we going to get to the final? And is he going to be fit when we do?
Is there any reason why he shouldn't?
Is there any reason why he shouldn't? Well, it's just pure bad luck. Like, I'm just, my point is that having all of your players fit, of which
it's an unusual thing. All right, yeah, no, I agree.
Of which he is probably one that gets injured more regularly than others because of the way he tackles with his face, and, you know, generally hits the line and lets the ball loose at the very, very last moment. He's more prone to injury and is targeted by practically any player, you know, who comes up against him, like a lot of tens. So, you know,
I was actually a bit disappointed that La Rochelle didn't target him more, because they were actually quite, you know, clean in how they dealt with him. Generally, teams get a bit dirtier with him, and that gets his dander up, and they make mistakes because they're trying to get him rather than they actually had a great tactic. Did you see their tactic at the rucks, on the arm of the scrum half? If you watch the game back and you watch the rucks, they targeted the arm, which is perfectly legal. Once the ball is lifted, you're allowed to go for the arm. They targeted the arm of Gibson Park with just to slap down the arm. Like, they weren't trying to break it or anything, but they targeted Gibson Park's arm every single time, which meant that he had to kind of lift the ball and take a step back before he passed. It was actually really, really clever play.
Yeah, all these little things.
They also tried to trip him though.
Yeah, well, they did try and trip him, but that's you know, that happens as well. But, you know, the clean stuff they did was super clever, like. But, you know, the thing is, I mean, next year's another year. I mean, we go into the thing and we've got, you know, Andrew Porter will have another year of loose head under his belt. Yeah. Ross Maloney has come through this year looking like an international player. Josh van der Fleer has won the European Player of the Year. We've got a lot of young players who went down to South Africa and came back and look like good players, even though some of them are injured, in the likes of Tommy O'Brien, who I think will be an active participant in next year's European Cup. And there's guys coming through. Alex Soroka's coming through. Joe McCarthy's coming through. You know, there's a lot of positives for next year. Next year's squad will be, you know, this year's squad will be a year older, but next year's squad will be a year better. And that's kind of the point. You know, you got Jason Jenkins coming in. Apparently, we've got Charles Nati coming in. So, you know, the squad has been strengthened. So I'm happy enough. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to. I mean, Saturday. Look, Miriam will tell you, Saturday night I was as miserable, absolute as imaginable. Leinster lost, Liverpool lost. I couldn't imagine anything worse. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's sport, and Liverpool have given me a hell of a season. Leinster have given me a hell of a season. So I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm looking forward to Saturday. Yeah. Never mind next season. I'm looking forward to Saturday.
So we'll come on to that game, but like I just kind of was looking back over the last 5 or 6 seasons and just kind of our progression. So if you can cast your mind back to 2016, like we didn't qualify to get out of our pool. The following year, 17, we lost the semi-final in Lyon against Clermont. 18, we won it. 19, we were in the final. Kind of maybe a dip in form then. In 20, we were quarter-final, then kind of moving up the curve again. 21, semi-final. 22, final. Do you know what I mean? So we've kind of...
It's a miserable old life, isn't it?
No, but it's like some of the older generation in that period were coming to the natural conclusion of their career. You know, we were trying to blood new players. Perhaps that was in our troughs. Some of those guys are starting to come through and mature now. And, you know, there's been a steady progression from, say, 2020, we were quarterfinal, 21, semi-final, 22, final. You know, next year, the finals in Dublin. You know, it's the last hurrah for Sexton. Great way to sign him off after, you know, I don't know, maybe 15 years or whatever it is he's wearing blue.
I mean, it would be a nice way to cap a year in which he's won an Ireland tour in New Zealand, a Grand Slam, and then finally the Heineken Cup.
Yeah. You know, I suppose one thing that did strike me when I was over there was I can't remember going to a match now, and I just had to check it. The last time we won a knockout match in France was Bordeaux in 2012. So it's a decade ago. And in that period, we've lost 6. So I think we've played 5 subsequent knockout matches in France, and we've lost those. And I think we've lost 6 of our last 8 6 of our 8 knockout games we've lost in France. So we do, we struggle going for those big games in France, where like it's our Achilles heel, really, isn't it?
Well, it's tough, Jay. It's tough to win over there in the first place. It's tough to win a regular, especially by the time you get to knockouts, you're playing the best teams. So, it's tough enough to win, a regular pool game over in France if the team are interested. It can be very, very tough. Never mind when you get to the stage where it's the knockouts and they're the better teams, the cream has risen to the top. So it's very, very hard. So, the fact that we haven't, what you say, we've won 1 and 7?
2 and 8.
2 and 8.
We haven't won for, yeah.
That's not bad though.
Well, we haven't won. We've lost our last 5.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's disappointing, but it's a statistic that's kind of highlights how hard it is to go and win in France.
The other thing I'd say about it is that we were pucks lucky to win in Bordeaux against Clermont, and it was the same situation, except it was this time Wesley Fofana's bicep got in the way, and
This is why you should always have flabby biceps.
we won the game. So this, imagine how the Clermont players felt after that.
Yeah.
And the Clermont fans. So there you go. Now we've got a piece of our own medicine. So yeah, you win.
It's like that sometimes. It can be quite karmic.
Yeah.
But we'll be there on Saturday, and we'll be.
Racing is okay. It was around the corner in Bilbao. It wasn't quite in France, but we played Racing, and we were lucky enough to win that too. We were only ahead in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Didn't they miss a dropper in the last minute?
They tried a dropper in the last goal. There's a great last minute. There's a great picture of the 3 or 4 Leinster lads absolutely breaking themselves to get a block on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I remember Teddy Thomas getting bundled into touch by Conan, was it? Just when he broke the blind around the scrum. Yeah, but these are the small margins that world-class players like him, they take a break and it doesn't work out for them. Like similar to us the other day, we didn't get much luck. I thought the opening sequence of Barnes is going to give us everything, and then the more I was sitting there in the stand, I was thinking he's given us way too much too soon, and he's going to have to even this
balance the books
and balance the books. And
what I was thinking, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, look, we're getting everything off in the first half, and they eventually got a binning against them. But I was just thinking, this has to go. Exactly what you're saying. This has to go.
But
in the second half, how many refs do that? They just
balance the books
in the first half and then balance the books.
What was it? I wonder what because I have this. Some chap called Ross Hamilton has posted some lovely statistics online. Just looking for the penalty count.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? That guy, Ross Hamilton, he did a wonderful podcast with Off the Ball. I would seriously suggest you listen to it. Absolutely brilliant. Some of the statistics he only did maybe last week sometime. So it's on YouTube or wherever.
It was 14-11 in La Rochelle's favour. The penalty count, as in they conceded 14, we conceded 11. They conceded 11 to 8 in defence, as opposed, and 3 each on offence. So, I suppose it kind of balanced out. Look, I think, there were positives in that game for us. It mightn't seem like it, but we went into that game. We thought our scrum would be destroyed. It wasn't. It survived just about, but it survived. And then actually, when the second set of front rows came on, I think we got a little bit of not dominance, but we got a little bit of an edge there because we were able to take Conan off the back. We've seen Ross Maloney again mature. I thought he had a great game. And himself and James Ryan look like a partnership that's going to be very secure for a long time. Joe McCarthy came on a little too late to kind of judge him, but you know, from a guy who's come from since Christmas to starting to playing in a European Cup final, that's quite the rise. I thought that Jimmy O'Brien was good, and I thought that Josh van der Flier richly deserved the European Player of the Year award.
He was looking at to get over. He made some great line drive.
Yeah.
Probably from the 22, and he got it within 5 meters of their line. But
yeah,
I think that was the penalty we got just before half time.
Yeah. And we also came up with a tactic to take advantage of them all as well. Our maul, I thought, was very good.
But for a forward,
so these are all lessons.
For a forward to play in a Heineken Cup final at 20 is pretty impressive as well. I mean, he's 21 till the end of the year, as far as I know. So
how did we lose?
I'm just saying it's good for him to have got on in a Heineken Cup final.
Oh, it is. No, I think it's an experience that'll stand to him.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, you mentioned it there. We do have a game on Saturday to try and exercise some of the demons against Glasgow. Now, according to the bookies are never wrong. Sure, they're not. Leinster are.
Well, certainly our predictions never are.
16-point favourites. Well, you know, we were 11 points favourites against La Rochelle, and that didn't work out. But anyway, 16-point favourites. I just saw Leinster announced an injury update, so it looks like Kelleher's out with a shoulder. And Sexton, like I can't see Sexton playing there. They mentioned that they're monitoring his.
I don't see him taking part in that game.
No, I don't think so.
He's been ruled out, I think, officially.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Has he been officially ruled out, or is it just a case of the usual kind of as Jason says, we're monitoring him on a day-to-day basis, and we make a decision closer towards the end of the week?
I thought they ruled him out. Maybe I didn't read.
Week too soon. That's the new week too soon.
Right.
Yeah, they don't give anything away. And actually. Go on, Dave. Sorry.
What I was going to say is, I wonder how many of the guys. I wonder how they manage the selection, because obviously they want to freshen up the team a little bit, give some guys a rest, and there'll be some guys who just want to get out and play rugby again, want to get back on the horse, and some guys they'll maybe want to give a week off. It'll be interesting to see how they balance it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say it might come down to the individual.
Yeah.
You know, whether they want to, as you say, get back on the horse, or whether they need a bit of time to lick their wounds and
process.
Yeah. Like it was. I think it was interesting when we were out on going to the game. We were getting the metro out, and Toner and a few of the other guys was on the metro with us, having a few cans on the train. Honestly, and we were saying, "Geez, wouldn't you think that like they'd be in with the official party in the stadium?" But obviously, I would imagine that they said we'd rather soak up the atmosphere in the pubs around town and then get the metro out to the.
I'd say a can of beer in Devin Toner's hands looks like one of those small cans of mixers you get in an airplane.
Well, we were walking past a pub, and like it was the most obvious spot of any rugby player I've ever seen standing in a bar in my life. It was just like he just towered above and dwarfed everybody in the boozer and his sort of baldy head was, oh, there's Toner, okay. And then got on the train and.
Sorry, I was going to say it's a great thing to go to a match. We have a mutual friend who's also not quite as tall as Toner, with a baldy head, and it's great when you go to a rugby match with them, because if you get lost, you just look around and you look for a baldy head that's about 6'7" off the ground, and you go, oh, there's the lad, nice one.
Yeah,
I just look for the guy who's signing autographs as James May.
A looky likey.
Looky likey.
Yes, yeah, you could get a gig, going around and surprising our ones on their 60th birthday.
As I said to Dave earlier, it's just on a Tuesday. I have a customer that I tend to wear a shirt for. The rest of the week, it could be in a
As opposed to the rest of your customers, you go in like no shirt on at all, just oiled up.
That's for the Al ones on their 60th birthday.
That's the one. Hold on. What do you mean L
Yeah.
was on his
Yeah, I know. I said that. So I was just like a reflex. I obviously have to revise that figure upwards.
Young girls on their 60th birthday, is that what you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So just turning back our attention to the rugby for a minute. So we're going to play Glasgow. We beat Glasgow earlier on in the season, back in October. I think we beat them fairly handy over in Scottstown. Beat them 31-15. Yeah, it's like this is kind of a potential banana skin for us. It's if the team isn't on us, Glasgow aren't mugs. They didn't qualify for Europe, so no doubt they're smarting. And
Glasgow have not yet qualified for Europe.
Have they not? Okay.
No. You will be surprised to hear that every rugby supporter in Munster is up for Leinster in this game. Because Munster haven't qualified for Europe either.
Oh, yeah.
Munster don't qualify for Europe until Glasgow don't win the URC. If Glasgow win the URC, Munster don't qualify for Europe.
Okay.
So every voice in Limerick will be raised in the harmonic tones of Molly Malone.
Okay.
Well, that sort of brings us a little bit on towards the Ulster-Munster game, which I think is going to be a pretty good game on Friday night. I heard Marty Moore has been stood down for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
With concussion.
Yeah.
And Ulster have signed for next season an All Black tight head in Tamanga Allen.
Yeah. And just add to the prop news, obviously Jack McGrath, who left his parish to go up north, he's leaving because of his injury. Now, I thought I read something that he had actually signed for Ulster back in January or February.
He had, and it was announced as such in January. So
I don't know what went on there, but his statements was quite strange. They said he was going to rehab as a professional under the guidance of Ulster, and then he was a free agent once he's kind of back on two legs, so to speak. But he certainly didn't seem to have any desire to retire.
No, I mean, if Jack McGrath's fit, you're getting a Lions prop, like.
Yeah.
If you can get him fit, that's the question. Ulster and Munster's one to. It could go either. It could either be a great game or Ulster will implode, as they so often do against Munster when the chips are down. Yeah, they've only exploded once. They generally implode.
That's a very true thing that could happen. All right. I suppose Friday night fixture in Belfast does weigh heavily in Ulster's favour, though.
Yeah, it's their
not going to be
home.
They love it.
It is, but it also means that it is tricky for a swarm of Munster fans to descend on Ravenhill, it being Friday night. You know what I mean? If it was Saturday at 5 o'clock, people could, large numbers could travel if they so desired.
Yeah, it's not really an option for this one.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that on Friday. There's that Bulls Sharks game. I think is going to be a cracker as well.
Yeah,
the URC is so derided, but the addition of those South African teams, there's three of them in the last 8. There's three Irish, three South Africans, and 2 Scottish. So, I think they're a great addition in, and hopefully they'll be able to build on their success this year, and they're certainly trying to strengthen their squads by bringing back a lot of the South Africans that are around Europe and Japan.
Yeah, it'll be very, very. I mean, I thought the last round of games in the regular season, if you like, were a cracking round of games. There were some really, really good games there. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend. You know, it's hard to pick one out about which would be the best game. I have a feeling that there's going to be one away winner. There generally is in the quarterfinal stage. There's always one team away that wins. So for me, I think it'll probably be Munster, but it could well be Munster or the Sharks.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Whoever wins that Bulls Sharks will travel to either Glasgow or Dublin for their semi-final game. I assumed wrongly, it turns out, that the highest seeded team in each fixture, in each semi-final fixture, would have home advantage, but apparently it's not. It's the winner of the first v 8th game is home advantage over the winner of the 4th v 5th game. So if Glasgow do beat us, they get a home semi against one of the South African sides.
I suppose it's kind of the reward for the lower seeded team.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. I assume, because that's the way the Heineken Cup, I think, works, is that whoever's the highest seed in each fixture gets home advantage, whereas it's not like that in the URC. So yeah, interesting. The Bulls seem to be rated by everybody as being the better team. I know the better history, but they seem to be rated as the better team. But the Sharks were higher in the standings all year.
Bulls had a very slow start, John, if you recall.
They did, but in all year until the very last game of the season, the Sharks were ahead of the Bulls as far as I know. Sorry, Dave, what did you say?
I said the Bulls had a very slow start to the season.
Yeah, well, especially in Dublin.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We have some questions, Jay. Are you ready to go to our viewers?
Oh, very good. Yeah, I'm very interested to hear what he has
I want to point out that's viewers with an apostrophe question, as opposed to, it's not the questions of many viewers, it's the questions from a viewer. No, Old School Socks says, given that Rod very obviously lied about the physical state of Big Willie Skelton and the whole Hurley Clubs thing, did the fact that Leinster had the most nervy performance of the year and very uncharacteristically kicks penalties and not go to the corner, do you think that Rog had a psychological edge on Leo Castor and co?
It's certainly a school of thought. Like I said about us focusing on our own game, and that's what the coaches always say. Oh yeah, we'll just focus on our own game, and they can do all the winning games they want. It's very hard not to get involved mentally in the mental shite that goes on. And like on one hand, Big Willie was being played down as being unfit, and on the other hand, the other guy, Carbarlo, was being played up as, oh well, he's got a super GAA glove with ice in it and a special bionic hand, and there's no way a guy with a broken hand is going to play in a bloody Heineken Cup final. But
no,
the ambiguity was left there on purpose by Rog for whatever reason, probably to take the heat off the guy who was actually going to wear the jersey.
Yeah.
But did they get in? Did Rog get into their heads? I don't know.
I don't know if they got into their heads, but Rog certainly coached his team very, very well and put them in a position to win, which is what a coach has to do.
Yeah.
We have a question from Gary Wynn on Facebook. He asked, is it really just a matter of extra ballast in the pack, particularly in the subs? Is Jenkins the answer? As great as the Leinster squad is it unfair that they don't have a budget for foreign players? Gibson Park and Lowe are well and truly indoctrinated at this stage. Having a Safar, an Islander, and an Aussie New Zealander brings something different to a team. Now, Niall O'Malley, again on Facebook, answers that and asks, is placing the focus on signings and ballast a red herring from how inadequately Leinster seem to deal with adversity? The reduced attacking ambition and conservatism kicking penalties has to hold a lot more weight than a slightly heavier lock.
Yeah. Sorry, you take that there, Jason. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I actually think that we nearly froze on the day. Nothing to do with our personnel in the team. And
top 2 inches.
Members playing. Top 2 inches. And I just thought we had a very, we kind of alluded to a few players who made mistakes. Every player makes mistakes, but this is when we needed nearly the game of perfection, and we didn't get it from. I can't think of anyone in the team who had a better than a 7 game on Saturday, and I just thought we nearly froze and didn't. Maybe we put too much pressure on ourselves. Like we start reading too much or listening to
The drive for five and the fifth star and
the drive, and you know, we're not a great team because we've lost to Saracens twice and La Rochelle in the big games, and we, you know, murder every other team we play against, and it's only in the last knockout game against one of these big powerhouses from France. Like, you know, just play our own game. We beat a team that Leicester, you know, leaders of the English League, load of English internationals in it. Likewise, Toulouse, who last year won the double in France. We beat, like, they played 20 extra minutes more rugby than we did. We played in England. They played in Ireland. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that they had to go to the moon to play a game. They played 20 minutes more rugby in a country that's 2 hours on a plane away. Like, not that difficult a thing to do. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I just so I think it is a bit of a red herring, and you could have a team like, at the end of the day, this team is pretty much not far off a team that beat the All Blacks. That we're very close to winning the Six Nations Championship. Like, they were beaten by France. France are a very good side this year. You can't win every game, but you can be competitive in every game, and that's what we were. We lost with a minute and 20 seconds to go. You know, you win, you lose. That's what sport's about.
Yeah, I agree entirely, Jay. I do think I would say that there's a good point there that Gary makes about having a South African or an Islander or a New Zealander or an Aussie in the squad. Just to things become very kind of incestuous if everybody's part of the same rugby gene pool. So having fresh ideas, fresh blood coming in, I think is always a good thing. We saw the difference that the likes of Nasiwa made, Ollie LaRue, and Scott Fardy. You bring those guys in, and they engender an evolution of culture.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
I agree, and also just on the last point about having a bit of extra ballast. When you're on an away trip in the south of France, having a big Damien Brown or Brad Thorne or whoever the hell. Brad Thorne is probably a bad example because he's one of those guys. He's 6'5", but he tugs out at about 6'8", mentally. But having a big cart horse that can get you through an away tie in France is definitely worth having. Whether it's even if it's only on the bench, so somebody like Jenkins could very well.
Yeah, it's like Joe Schmidt always loved Damien Brown.
Yeah.
Because he was that kind of heavy infantry.
Joe Schmidt loved big players. He loved big wingers. He loved big centers. He loved he was a fan of the larger gentlemen in his teams. He was the one who brought Klein into the Ireland squad. You know,
Quinn Roux.
Quinn Roux was another guy he loved. Yeah. You
know.
There's just one more question on Twitter, and we kind of covered most of the points in it, but it makes a good point. We're known for our high try scoring stat each season. We scored 1 try in our last 3 Heineken Cup finals.
Yeah, that's a shocker. You know, that kind of says, you know, tension up.
That's from the Bummer Bob. That is Rugby Spotlight.
Tensing up mentally in a final is a big thing. Until we met Saracens in 2019, we won all of our 3 Heineken Cup finals that we'd been in. 4 of our Heineken Cup finals until we met Saracens in 2019. So fifth time unlucky, and it's the 5th start that seems to be proving the hardest to win, nearly. You know,
but they're hard to win though.
Oh, they are.
It's like GAA. It was the hardest thing to do in GAA was to win the 5 in a row. Like,
yeah.
And then the Dubs did it.
But they, like, sports at high level or any probably level, they're hard to win the trophy at the end of the season, and only one team can do it. And there's no God given right.
And it's generally decided by microns.
And just as this game was, some days you have a really poor game, like, for example, the final against, you know, and you make mistakes in the highest amount of pressure when there's 60,000 people screaming at you, and you miss a touch, or you miss a tackle, or you don't pass outside and you take the break yourself, or whatever mistake you make. But it's really, it's about how you react to it. And how did the Leinster guys react to it? They managed to pick themselves up, and they got back to a quarter-final after that, semi-final the season after, and a final again. And they missed out by a tiny margin. Sure, they didn't win it, but you know what? That's what life is. It's not all about, no one wins everything. And it really bugs me hearing and reading in the media that it's just so binary, that either you're nobody or you're the winner. And
yeah, we live in a world devoid of nuance.
Galls me. Yeah, galls me.
I agree. I agree.
But anyway, that my rant is over.
It was a good rant, Jay.
It was.
Thank you.
That's the end of our question, by the way.
Okay, well, they were good questions, and please keep them coming in if in future. Well, anyway, boys, I think we've kind of said all we can say about the final. Just obviously, just going back to the Glasgow game, just very briefly, do you think that that Leinster will play many of the team that tugged out last week, or will we see similar to the match against Munster where they made 14 or 15 changes?
I'd say it'll be somewhere in between. Just an example. I think we do need to run scrums into Andrew Porter, for example. You know, the only way a prop learns is by scrummaging.
Yeah. Well, I'd say we'll rest, or whatever it is, Sexton. Sexton has a bit of niggle. We might give a few opportunities to a few of the lads that, you know, have been banging on the door. We might start Joe McCarthy instead of Ross Byrne. We might, you know, who knows what.
Geez, that'd be a brave move.
Who knows what Ryan's...
Joe McCarthy instead of Ross Byrne.
Sorry, Ross Maloney.
Ross Byrne. I suppose it might be a way of dealing with some of Luke McGrath's more aerial passes.
Yeah, can you imagine him running down the channel of a few scared back rowers would be jumping out of his way instead of trying to yes, sorry, Ross Maloney. Like Ross Maloney's clocking up the minutes, I would say. James Ryan could have his minutes restricted by Ireland, although they don't generally restrict minutes at this time of the season. But we are going down to play several games in New Zealand in July. Yeah. So, and
there's guys as well who can slot in without huge drop off. I mean, obviously there is a drop off, but not massive. I'm talking about guys like Josh Murphy, like Alex Soroka. You know, there are good players out there. Maybe less so in the backs, for a bit because of injuries to one or two, but we have guys there. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I would actually love Leinster to take this game really serious and to play, you know, 11 or 12 of our starting team. Obviously, there's a couple of lads that are injured, but the ones that aren't, I'd love to see them all talking out and really taking the rest of the season, hopefully last remaining 3 games seriously.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, anyway, boys, thanks very much. Thanks very much for watching. If you are following us. Oh, sorry, John.
Does John have something to say?
Well, all I was going to say was, what are we going for in these 3 games? We're going for the 5 in a row. So, you know.
Like the Dubs.
Like the Dubs. Never been done before. Until it is. And we'll never get in the position to do 5. If we lose this, we're not going to get in a position to do 5 in a row again for at least 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good mathematizing there, John.
There you go.
Well, it's definitely going to be a harder competition to win from next season onwards with the South Africans.
It's going to be bloody hard with the ones that are here now.
Yeah, no, for sure. But what I mean is with the South Africans fully in it, you know, whereas I think it took them a while to adjust with COVID and
once they're up to speed.
Presumably, monkeypox doesn't take over the world, and
what'd you call me?
And we.
Sounds like a name of a punk band.
It does, yeah.
I've been called.
Well, anyway, lads. Anyway, Thanks very much for watching. If you are following us Facebook or Twitter, please give us a like and a subscription. Thanks very much again. Cheers.